I recycled my Gowan notes.
What did I call playing today? We were playing that movie game, and he mentioned a movie, and he was surprised the tomato meter score was so low. And he was like, no, that movie was great. And I was like, no, it wasn't, you fucking loser. Yeah, just die.
Just to your boss.
Just call my boss a fucking loser. Oh, I get away with so much shit at work.
Because you're good at your job.
You know what I do half the time I'm working? I do research for this brand new episode of Soon to Be a Major Motion Podcast, the podcast where we watch movies that are based off books and read books that were turned into movies. I am Billy Beck.
I am Codie Beck.
Codie Beck. How have you been?
What the fuck was that?
An attempt.
I feel like microwaved death, but I'm here.
Is this your flu game?
This is my flu game.
Is this episode your what was the one I had COVID? Great Gatsby?
Oh God. I mean, maybe this our subject feels like a fever dream.
Is the fever dream the movie or an actual fever dream? And when you're watching Baz Luhrmann, it's hard to tell. But no, this is not Baz Luhrmann.
No, this is not. But other than, feeling like death, I'm great. We did an event.
We left the house on a weekend.
Together. At the same time.
I drove. I stayed sober a whole Saturday so I could drive somewhere in the evening.
Yeah. That drive was a fucking nightmare.
It was awful. Long Beach. Hey, if you're not from Los Angeles and you hear all this stuff about LA traffic and you think it's not like a thing, we're talking 3:30, I think we left on a fucking Saturday afternoon. And to get from our place, which is at like one end of the metro, to like the other end of the metro, it would have taken us 2 trains to get there. Only one transfer. But it took us an hour and a half to drive it because of traffic.
And that's what, like 30 miles?
40, I think.
That, for reference,
And still in Los Angeles City. LA is fucking huge, if you don't know.
For reference, when I lived in Pennsylvania, my commute was 25 miles. And it took me 25 minutes.
My commute now is 30, and it takes me about 35, but that's because I go away from traffic.
I was going to say, yeah, you're fighting traffic. You're opposite traffic both ways.
My dumbass commute.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. No, we did an event. We went to the Angel City season ticket holder event down at the Aquarium of the Pacific.
Yeah, which we hadn't been at for several years.
About 8 years. Why does that make you vomit, Codie? What's wrong with 8 years?
Because we first went to the Aquarium of the Pacific on our first anniversary.
In August 2017?
Yep.
Does that mean it's our 9th anniversary? As we record tomorrow?
Yep. We've been married for 9 years, and I'm sure you can hear it in the podcast.
I feel like some of our listeners are just happy we aren't fighting violently.
That's because they don't hear us when the pod's off.
It's because we fight emotionally.
What's that meme? It's like, I could be meaner.
No, you couldn't.
I am not as mean as I'd like to be, and some of you should appreciate that.
We had a great event. Met like half the squad.
Yeah, we fucking gamed the shit out of that.
We got fucking lucky is what happened.
We picked so well. So we get there, and we're like, okay, there's not going to be food there, because the last event we went to, there was nothing.
When they did this last year, they just took over the parking lot at the Santa Monica Pier. So it was just a vacant boardwalk with like a couple like undressed tables with players sitting at them.
Yeah, and like they didn't even have the foresight to have like food trucks outside the area.
So half the people that showed up wound up at the Bubba Gumps across the street.
Yeah, including us. Mm-hmm. But this time, of course, the Aquarium of the Pacific is right across from the outlet, so there's all those restaurants there. Mm-hmm. So we went and had a delicious, inexpensive, fast casual dinner at Chili's.
God bless you, Chili's.
Really hearkening back to our
when we first started dating,
days.
Like 15 years ago. And Chili's was a fancy night out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we get dinner, and then we meet up with our friends who are also season ticket holders, and then we go and get in the line, which at this point is already wrapping around down to the pier.
Yep.
I don't know if that's the appropriate term for it, but wherever they have, like, the booze cruises and the stuff that disembarks from the area there, that's where the line was. But it only took about, I don't know, 20 minutes or so after they opened.
Yeah, we got in there pretty quick, and then inside they had 4 tables with 6 players each at them.
Yeah, and it was pretty obvious that a lot of people were going to go to one particular table.
Mm-hmm. So we went to table 4.
Yeah.
And waited maybe 20 minutes.
We were, like, the first, like, 30 people in line for that one.
Mm-hmm. We met some of, like, my favorite players. Mm-hmm. I was wearing one of her jerseys at the time.
Yep.
And, like, I can be awkward in social situations.
Can you?
So I have an old jersey from the team from their first year that every time we go to one of these events, I take it to get signed, and I intend to keep adding signatures to it over the years, and that's just my thing.
Yes. So
she signs that jersey, and we turn around for the picture, and she sees I'm wearing her jersey, and she's like, "Do you want me to sign that one too?" And I was like, "No, I still wear this one." Like, I don't know how to say, like, this one's special, that's why your signature's on the special one. This one's not special, it just happens to be yours. Hi, I love you. Good game on Thursday.
Also, we don't want to ruin it by throwing it in the wash.
Exactly. But awkwardness aside, great to meet them, take pictures. We waited in another line for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, they actually extended that line.
Mm-hmm. And got to meet some more players, get some more signatures. Didn't take pictures with them. Mm-hmm. But it's nice. It's because where we sit in the stadium, it's right behind the TV cameras.
We bougie.
So, I mean, yeah, but also, like, it's far away from the field. I doubt they can hear the things I yell at them. So it's nice, like, especially after a big win like we just had, to look our players in the eyes and just be like, you guys played great on Thursday. Like, that was awesome to see. We loved it.
Yeah.
And to see them, like, proud of their accomplishment as well. And then after we met the players, there was a Q&A with the head coach and the sporting director.
Yep.
And it put me at ease for the future of this club, because they have a plan, apparently. Finally. Only took them 4 seasons. But we have a plan.
We're no longer Merch FC.
We successfully called the 2 players that would be leaving the club, which was announced today.
Yep.
It wasn't exactly a secret. He kind of said it without saying it, but that's besides the point. But yeah, we had a really fun time at that event.
Yeah, it was a blast. It's the players looked gassed. The ones that we were seeing at the end.
Oh, the second table, they were, my wrist hurts.
But, like, they were super gracious and everything. It's just, like...
They were tired.
Yeah, like,
so we were
signing and seeing people who all have so many expectations of you for so long.
We're like, we're not going to push you. Thank you for signing it. Thank you for everything you do, week in, week out, working on the pitch.
Yes.
We're here. We appreciate you. We love you. But, like, the coach and the sporting director seemed like, especially the coach, because we just got him in June.
Yeah.
Alexander Strauss, he came from Germany.
Off his first fucking win.
Off his first win in, like, 6 attempts. A lot of draws, though. He's only got, I think, 2 losses. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he looked so shocked to see that many people in that little theater just for a Q&A with him. Mm-hmm. He's like, I was expecting hundreds to show up to this event tonight, and there are thousands here. So
if you're familiar with Aquarium of the Pacific, again, they have that amphitheater, and it was standing room only. Like, they had people just standing in the back.
Like
every
us.
seat was full.
Yeah. And it was real special to see that after 4 years, Merch FC still has a fan base who's hungry and cares about the club and wants the club to succeed. And now we have leadership that seems to want the same thing. Not that our old coaches and sporting directors didn't, but this is the first time, like, I've felt it. Like, oh, there's a plan here. We're going to try something. We're going to do something. So,
not to be a Debbie Downer on the situation, but I also wonder how much of that is coming from the fact that ACFC was primarily a female-run club for a significant portion of time, and now all of a sudden there's dudes, and maybe they're willing to listen to the dude. Ownership is willing to listen to the dudes more.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is there. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in the back room. I don't read The Athletic because I don't care.
Yeah.
I know that there's been drama in the past with the club, but I care about what's
on. At least it's not the San Diego Wave.
I care about what's on the pitch, and if he's going to make that product better, and I look forward to going to games for more than just getting hammered in the stands, then we're looking good. And this has been ACFC Talk with the Becks.
It's actually cheerful for once.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. No, I haven't done anything since the, or besides the Premier League started up again.
Yes. So you are now leaving on Saturdays, but I don't even get to enjoy it because it's usually really early in the morning.
Yeah, because I'm back and you're still asleep.
Yep. You're just jealous.
Yeah. Yeah. Must be nice to sleep. Speaking of sleeping, you know, when I was in high school...
Where is this going? What is this transition?
Our English class, or language arts, as we called it.
Oh, God.
Back in the Pennsylvania days. We were often given reading assignments, and one of those assignments, I believe it was my senior year, was a little epic poem that put me to sleep every time I tried to read it, called Beowulf. Now, Codie, I've seen you holding a copy, or 4, of this book throughout the last week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yes.
Would you believe, hear me out, they turned it into a movie?
I would actually believe that. I believe they've turned it into several.
Well, we're only going to talk about the one that came out my senior year of high school.
Yeah, date yourself.
Old. Yeah, we're talking about Zemeckis' Beowulf.
Didn't he also do that Christmas Carol?
And guess what else he did? The Polar Express. He had a run of like 6 years where all he made was the shitty mocap animation.
Why?
Because we'll get into that.
Okay.
But first, briefly, summarize Beowulf for me.
So, weirdly, despite the fact that I, have taken 8 million English classes, have a secret minor in my college English, I actually had never read Beowulf, primarily because the class in which they read Beowulf was British literature, and I was taking AP literature, and they would not let you take both at the same time because they were considered too demanding.
I read it in college prep language arts.
Well, I do have to say, the person that was teaching it, it was the same teacher for both classes, so it was kind of up her call, and she would not let you be in both.
She didn't want to see you twice a day.
But she fucking loved Beowulf. They did an entire marking period on Beowulf.
Oh my god, I haven't heard the phrase marking period in close to 20 years.
Right?
Fucking Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So, I did not take that class, and I didn't take a broader British literature in college because I don't respect the Brits. So...
Totally reasonable take.
And again, like I said last week, I'm a Shakespeare person. So I just skated by and avoided reading Beowulf up until, this week. So my very brief summary of Beowulf is Scandinavian king builds a hall. A demon, is real mad that he built the hall and starts killing and cannibalizing people. And then a cool guy shows up and tears off his arm. And then the mother of the monster shows up and kills a guy as revenge. So he chases her back to her hometown, which is, the bottom of a lake, and kills her. Then he comes back, gets all of his rewards, goes home through a series of misadventures, which I am not glossing over. This is literally how the poem goes. Through a series of misadventures, he ends up becoming king of his own land. And then he fights a dragon and loses. Well, loses, ? The scholarship is in debate on that point, but he dies. But so does the dragon. And
so
also,
a draw.
Yeah, I guess. And then also...
Fucking Brits and their draws.
And then it's implied heavily that his heroic sacrifice in destroying the dragon is actually just going to destroy his entire homeland and people and way of life. Man, Germanic traditions. Really bright endings.
I recognize some of the things you said. Like I said before, our boy Robert Zemeckis turned this into a movie back in 2007. Would you like to watch the trailer?
I really wouldn't. I saw what was on the screen yesterday, and I don't want to watch more of that.
Too bad. Let's watch a trailer.
Are you the one they call Beowulf? Such a strong man you are. A man like you could own the greatest tale ever sung. Beowulf, stay with me. Give me a son, and I shall make you the greatest king that ever lived. This, I swear. forever be king. Forever strong. Mighty. Beyond imagination.
What are you? She's not my curse. Not anymore.
A demon named Grendel is harassing a Danish village, so a hero named Beowulf comes to save the day. He kills Grendel, fucks Grendel's mom, becomes king, kills a dragon that might also be his son, and dies a fucking legend.
Wow.
So
Okay.
the plot synopsis that you gave was somewhat bare bones, and that's because, and I've read this poem, the poem's also pretty bare bones.
Yeah.
It's considered the oldest English text in existence.
Yes, it was written somewhere between the 700s and the end of the 900s. They don't know exactly when. The extant copy was preserved in actually the same library that Sir Gawain's manuscript was. Not the same author, clearly, but...
And if I'm not mistaken, there was an oral tradition about this before it was written. Is that correct, or am I misremembering high school?
So there's some speculation that it came from an oral tradition.
Okay. So, storytelling has changed quite a bit in the 1400 years since this was written.
Yeah, a smidge.
In that we want our characters to have depth. Beowulf in the poem is just a fucking hero.
So, yes. You alluded that I have several books here.
Yes.
One of the books that I have is a literary companion to Beowulf, which is, it just has a bunch of readings, which are basically excerpts from different essays and scholarship about Beowulf, including the original reason that Beowulf is in pop culture, which we can blame on Tolkien again.
Reasonable.
Basically, Tolkien, when he was a professor at Oxford, I think, wrote an analysis of Beowulf that basically was like, y'all are reading this all fucking wrong, and explained why and how everyone was reading it wrong, and kind of reconceptualized it and renewed interest in it. And I believe that was in the 60s. So a lot of the scholarship on the character of Beowulf is basically talking about how whether or not he succeeds in his duties, both as a hero and a king, and the consensus is that there is no consensus. No one really thinks, or no one really agrees on whether he's a good hero or a bad hero, whether he's a good king or a bad king. Because you can read various different interpretations of it. My personal interpretation of it is that, yeah, he's just a fucking stock hero character. But especially if this came from an oral tradition, it's a stock hero character. Do I think the poet maybe had some opinions about him? Yeah. But that's not necessarily anything in the text itself that is directly said about Beowulf. It's all in kind of the random asides that you get.
In your research that you did anything come up about Christianity?
So, kind of. The translation that I'm reading is, or that I read, was by an Irish professor, and he actually admits that his translation is trying to kind of be anti-colonial, in that it's a little bit reclaiming Irish and Gaelic and the language that he grew up with, or didn't grow up with because of English colonialism. And so he uses some of the stuff that he recognizes from Old English, he keeps in the modern translation that came out in 2000, because he wanted to talk about, or he recognized it from something that his Irish grandmother would say. And so he was keeping that in there as a reference. So my understanding is that this translation is different than a lot of the other translations that may have been, especially like ones that would have been used in schools. Although he did translate it for the Norton Anthology of British Literature, so maybe not.
So it's probably the translation I read then.
Probably. But he uses a lot of references to God and fate almost interchangeably. Mm-hmm. Like, God is the controller of fate, but also fate is its own thing. And it, from the other research that I was doing and reading on the different excerpts, it seems like that may not be the case in different translations. So the best way that I can think to explain it is that the characters are not Christian, but the person who wrote it down was. And so it's kind of a writing the story of pagan people through the eyes of someone who was Christian.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was asking about. Because I read a bit in my research that the original manuscripts were likely taken by monks in the 7th or 8th century.
Yeah.
And that kind of worldview was applied to this ancient text.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird references where they're like, thank God, thank creation, references to Grendel being a son of Cain, which feels explicitly Christian, which is weird, because why would they recognize Cain if they're not Christian?
Yeah.
And why would the central conflict, Grendel attacking them, why would Grendel be so upset with them for celebrating creation if they're not explicitly celebrating the god that he's been cursed by, you know? So it's a little, like, I found that a little confusing. Mm-hmm. But it feels, weirdly, even though Gawain literally goes to mass 1,000,000 times in Gawain and the Green Knight, this feels more Christian, like, rooted in the kind of, like, ideals of Christianity than...
Interesting. So, the way that they adapted this...
Poorly.
I wouldn't say poorly, because I have mixed feelings on the adaptation here. They adapted it, and it's a similar thing to what we experienced with The Green Knight, where he's getting ready to go a year later to the Green Chapel, and they're already singing stories about him. His story's already been written. It's the same thing is happening in this film. When we first meet Hrothgar, before Grendel attacks the first time, his thanes are singing the stories of Hrothgar's adventures and feats and victories. And then when Beowulf shows up to entice Grendel that second time, his thanes are doing the same thing, singing the feats of Beowulf. And by the end of the film, Beowulf comes clean about some things that he's done in this movie, and I'll get to that in a moment, to his second in charge, Wiglaf. Is Wiglaf in the...
Yes.
Okay. So he basically tells Wiglaf, hey, this is what happened 50 years ago. And Wiglaf's like, no, it's not. They sing the songs. We know what's happened. So the film implies that the text that we have exists in the universe, just incomplete, because they haven't written the dragon part yet.
That's kind of fun. I like that.
And so what the filmmakers do is that they expound upon that, and like I said, he's more one-dimensional in the text. The character's more three-dimensional here. Basically, it's broken up into like 3 fights, right? He fights Grendel, he fights Grendel's mother, and he fights a dragon.
Yes.
What the film does is thematically and plot-wise links all 3 of these fights.
Yeah.
And essentially sets up the villain of the entire piece as Grendel's mother. So Grendel himself is the child of Hrothgar and Grendel's mother.
Okay.
And it's all implied, but you get by the end that when he was young, Hrothgar came across this water demon. She seduced him, promised him glory, money, and a kingdom in exchange for a son. And it's his son that haunts. And that's why in the story, or in the original text, Grendel never goes after Hrothgar. He just goes after Hrothgar's men. And there's even a scene in the film where Hrothgar stands to him and says, let's fight, and Grendel runs away. When we get to the first fight, does he? I can't remember. Does he fight Grendel naked, or was that made up for the movie?
He doesn't fight him naked. He fights him without armor and without weapons.
Okay, so
So it's kind of...
Yeah, okay. So the idea is there that he wants to, even playing field.
Because basically, the poet says that there's no possible way that Beowulf could know this, but no weapon will harm Grendel. Beowulf is just such a fucking himbo that he's like, I'm going to fight him without weapons, and I'm going to fight him in single combat, and that's how we're going to decide this.
Yeah, he basically says, like, he's not going to come at me with weapons or armor, so why would I go at him with weapons or armor? And, like, has a nice naked sleep. Fights him, like, 3-4 of his dudes get killed. Wiglaf tries to stab it in the dick, and he's like, it's got no dick! Rips the arm off, but does he rip his arm off by the hands? Like, with his bare hands?
Yes.
Okay.
He, basically, it sounds like he has him in a headlock, but he's holding him in such a way that, like, his arm is gripping his arm, so when Grendel runs away, because Grendel realizes, shit, this guy's stronger than me, it's the first time, the force of breaking free is what rips Grendel's arm off.
Okay. So, that must be the tale that is told, because what actually happens is he gets the arm wrapped up in the chain from a chandelier. And wraps it around a couple posts and pulleys it, like, to lock it in place, basically, and then slams the door on his shoulder, which severs the arm.
And so, does he die there, or does he run off and they discover his corpse later?
He runs off to Mama's cave.
Okay.
And she's like, my baby boy, my poor beautiful baby boy, who did this to you? And of course, Beowulf, being the himbo that he is, screams, I am Beowulf, in his face before slamming the door on his arm. So...
if I had a nickel for every time in popular culture there was a hero who did something genuinely badass and tricked a monster, and then in the end just fucking gave the monster his name before knowing that it was dead, I'd have 2 nickels. Beowulf
and...
Odysseus.
Oh. I thought you were thinking of Lola Vice, but she just yells, I'm a Latina.
No. Odysseus famously gives his name and house and location to the son of Poseidon, which is why, the rest of the Odyssey takes place.
Oh, like in Iron Man 3, when he tells the Mandarin his fucking address and then gets surprised when his house gets blown up.
Sure.
It's, philosophers have said that there's only 7 stories that we keep telling throughout history.
You can hear one of them every other week.
On The Treatment, a podcast about stories. So, he gets... They throw another party. Hrothgar's like, fucking awesome, bro. You did it. My curse is over. Thank you. Anyway, I have no heirs because I've been impotent because of this curse on me made by Grendel's mother. So, you're king when I die. And he's like, cool, I guess. That won't be for... Oh, he just jumped off a building. Hrothgar yeets himself off the building. Oh, no, sorry. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. First, he's like, they celebrate that night, and then Grendel's mother comes and kills all of his thanes except for Wiglaf.
Interesting.
So we never leave this town. He becomes king of this town. He doesn't go back to Geatland.
Okay, so that's actually interesting, because I want to propose that Beowulf condemns himself by killing Grendel's mother in the context of the poem, because in the poem, she kills one dude. That, by the rules of their society, yes, Grendel did something terrible, but you have revenge rights, regardless of what happens. So the fact that Grendel died and she kills one person in retaliation, that is her revenge tribute. Beowulf goes after her unjustly. Or you could make the argument that the revenge cycle will always continue because you will always kill more and more and more. But technically, by the code of the society, in the poem, Grendel's mother does nothing wrong. She is avenging the death of her child.
Yeah,
her child was a monster.
I mean, she's avenging the death of her child here, too. She just kills a few more people.
Yeah.
And, again, don't have a problem with that. So, Beowulf is given, like, a special dragon horn thing, like a golden...
Nope, fully
horn,
made up for the
fully
movie.
For the movie? Cool. So he gets this, like, magic horn, and he gets Hrunting.
Yes, I was going to say Hrunting is in the...
What's his name? Unferth.
Yes, Unferth starts some shit before the Grendel fight.
Yeah, he's like, aren't you the Beowulf that lost that swimming race? And he's like, yeah, because I had to fight 3 or 4 or 9, 15 sea monsters, and also fucked a mermaid. Oh, no, I mean, killed a sea monster. He says that in his story he says he's killing the mermaid, but in the or he's killing a sea monster, but in the flashback we see he's fucking a mermaid.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So that happens.
Yeah. So anyway, he takes Hrunting and the horn, and he goes to the cave, and the horn glows in the cave. And
that was stolen from...
That is absolutely some Sting action.
Well, I was going to say that was stolen from, like, the Perseus shit.
Oh, yeah, probably.
The mirror, yeah.
But anyway, goes in there, comes across naked Angelina Jolie, Grendel's mother, and it's not even her naked body. I'll get to that. And she's like... She straight up melts Hrunting. Like, she strokes it like a penis, and then it melts. Symbolism. And she's like, listen, you give me a son, I make you king. You'll never die as long as that horn stays in my cave. And he shows up back at the castle, or at the mead hall, without the horn and without Hrunting. And he's like, yeah, so I killed her, and she's dead, and then I was leaving, and then she was alive again, so I stabbed her again, I left the sword in her to make sure she stays dead. Here's Grendel's head, by the way, just to prove that he's also still dead, even though his arm's hanging over there. And, oh, the horn? Oh, I dropped it, and it fell in the marsh, and we can't get it back. I'm sorry, it's gone forever. And, anyway, oh, you're making me heir? And off the balcony he goes, and Beowulf is king. And he gets to fuck Beowulf's wife, or, Hrothgar's wife, and he gets a nice little mistress on the side, and he ages a bunch. And then fucking, was it a dragon shows up? And he's like, what's up with that? And then Unferth's slave, whose name is Cain.
Oh, okay.
So that's still in here. Also, he's a Christian at this point. Like, Christianity has spread to Denmark at this point in the story.
Sure. All right.
They're like, oh, there's this dragon. Also, my slave found your horn? And Wolfie's like, fuck. So he goes back to the cave. And he's like, all right, where are you? Where are you at? And she's like, you owe me child support. And there's a big fucking dragon there. And then he, like, action scenes with the dragon back to the village. And he knows that the dragon has a weak spot, so he cuts open the weak spot and he can see the heart, and he reaches in to stab the heart, and he can't reach the heart with his sword. And he's like, I'm going to do the cool guy thing, because he's like tethered, like he's wearing his chainmail, his one arm is tethered to the dragon via chain, so he cuts his own arm off to give himself an extra couple inches, and still can't reach the heart, and then he drops his sword, and then he bare hands the heart. If you were close enough to be able to do that, you could have done it without cutting your arm off, bud.
So,
and then they all tumble to the ground and die, and, I won't tell if you won't tell, bud. And then, like, at the end, Wiglaf is, like, also kind of seduced by, because he gets, like, the Viking funeral, and as the ship's going down, Wiglaf sees Grendel's mother on the ship, kissing Beowulf one last time, and he starts walking towards her in the water. Anyway, and that's kind of how they fleshed it out for the film.
So, basically, all of these monsters are, and I'm just lumping Grendel's mother, and the dragon as monsters.
Yeah,
none of them can be killed by human-forged weapons. So, it could be, I'm not saying it was a good way to show it, but it could be as simple as he had to drop the sword in order to be able to touch the heart. But that's a really dumb way to show it.
No, because they show it as he can't even reach it.
Okay.
But then when he's got a foot and a half less distance to work with, he can get a full grip on that motherfucker. It's really odd, and it jumped out at me as could have done that better.
So in
like if he goes in the first time and drops the sword the first time, because they established that like the dragon's breathing fire and it's going up through the hole in the neck. That also that dragon's heart was in its neck. Anyway, and the one weak spot in its scales was right outside where the fucking heart. Anyway, really poor intelligent design, God, on your dragons. But, like, maybe have him drop the sword when the flames come up the first time, or the sword melts or something like that, and then he can't reach, and then he, like, you know, with his hand or something, like, manages to dislocate his shoulder and then go in and get the heart. Like, there's a better way to do that without it not making any fucking sense.
So, Hrunting.
Yeah.
Hrunting fails. And it's the first time that it failed, and it's just because, it's implied that it's because Unferth sucks. Basically, like...
This is my ancestral sword. We're all shit.
Because, like, he gives him the sword, and he's like, cool. And then he goes to use it, and it fails. And he's like, well... And then he eats it. And then he picks up another random sword, and this sword is bigger. It's from when the giants fought God, and were cast down out of heaven, I guess.
Yeah, we all know.
Sure. And so this sword is so giant that he can then use that to attack and kill Grendel's mother. But same thing, the blade melts. So the only thing he has left is the hilt. And that's what he ends up presenting to Hrothgar as proof that Grendel's mother is dead. And then, yeah, the dragon is fully unconnected. The dragon is like 300 years old. And it's implied that there's a curse on the gold that it's guarding. So when the slave... It's the same thing. It's not necessarily Unferth's slave, but it is a slave that goes in and steals a cup and awakens the dragon. And there's this interesting, like, comparison of what is happening, what the monsters are doing is more and more justified throughout the poem. Like, obviously Grendel killing 30 men is not a justification for not liking a song.
It is justification for lack of child support payments from the king.
And then Grendel's mother, of course, gets revenge for her son, and that's more justifiable. And then, of course, the dragon is just doing what the dragon does, which is guarding its hoard. So when something is stolen from its hoard, it doesn't kill anyone that we're aware of. It just destroys property. So that point where Beowulf was like, I'm gonna go fight the fucking dragon, and everyone's like, that's a bad idea, you're old and you're gonna die, and he's like, I'm gonna do it anyway, and they're like, we'll go with you, I guess.
Yeah, it feels like the text of the screenplay did a lot of work to contextualize the text of the poem, while also providing an out that, like, oh, some aspects of the poem are different because it's the people who wrote it trying to save face.
Yeah, it's also like, I don't hate the idea of it's kind of like you're perpetuating the cycle, because you could view, you know, Grendel is the mistake, the hubris of Hrothgar, and then you have the dragon who's the hubris of Beowulf, and then you have whatever monster Wiglaf creates with Grendel's mother. So it's like this idea of perpetuating that cycle of violence that's going to lead to the doom of everything and everyone that you've ever known. So I don't necessarily hate that, but it does seem like it's a fleshing out a more modern way to kind of explain that in the context of where the poem is just like, no, you understand this implicitly because we are in the same society.
Yeah, it modernizes it without modernizing it.
Another way that it modernizes it is because you keep talking about all these women.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, he has sex with these women. He does whatever. Not in the fucking poem at all. We don't even know if he's married. We know he has no heirs. We do not know if he's married. And it's not clear whether that means he's not married or whether the poet just didn't think it was important enough to mention that he was married.
Well, he has no heirs because he fucked Grendel's mother, and that's part of the curse. And he is married to Hrothgar's wife, and we can't have the public knowing about that infidelity, so we just don't mention her at all. And yeah, that's how that works, right?
Yeah, so basically, like, romance and love and the more or less obsession with sex that modern American culture has, completely absent in, 7 to 900s.
Are you telling me that the manuscript written by monks in the 7th century isn't very sexy?
Yes. But it was more of a cultural thing, because pretty much everything from that era was sexless.
What is it about the culture? No, not everything in that era was sexless, because we still have people.
Fair.
But monks? Yes.
There's actually a really funny quote in one of the readings that refers to specifically Sir Gawain and the Green Knight as being in a bedroom world. Whereas Beowulf is not in that type of world.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are women that are mentioned, but they are mostly, they're kind of mentioned in the context of, like, property, in that it's, like, it's very Helen of Troy, in that, like, oh, this marriage is going to happen, and I'm predicting that it's going to lead to the downfall of this kingdom because this woman is connected to the person who killed this guy's dad, and the marriage is going to start a whole problem. So they're kind of more facilitators than anything else. Like, I think the queen talks to him once, and it's basically like that very formal, hey, here's a drink because you're gonna fucking die tonight. And he's like, I promise that I will die in service of you, queen, and your husband. And she's like, cool. And then goes back to stand by her husband. But there's, like, no other interactions between men and women in this. Except for, at the very end, there is a Geat woman who bewails Beowulf's death and is basically like, well, we're all gonna fucking die and our lands are gonna get taken and we're all gonna be chased off of this area and it's gonna be terrible.
Neat.
Yeah.
It almost feels like Beowulf and the Green Knight are the same story, except Gawain and the Green Knight was written by somebody who respects women as humans, in that they're kind of like the ones pulling the strings there.
Yeah, it's interesting, because, Gawain was written 400 or so years later, and it's just, like, interesting how much culture shifts in that time, especially because they were written in different areas, and technically one of them was written in the area that was being colonized by the writer of this.
Yeah.
So...
Well, yeah, are you really surprised culture shifts that much in 400 years?
I mean, a little bit.
Think of what life was like when we were children pre 9/11. You used to be able to meet people at the gate at the airport.
Yeah, but they didn't have the internet.
I found this on the web.
So anyway, speaking of respecting women as people, do you want to hear about the men that made this movie?
Of course.
Directed by Robert Zemeckis, as I brought up before. He was a previous director on this pod, Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yep.
Also did Forrest Gump, the Back to the Future movies. He had a really good run back in, like, the 80s.
Too bad we're talking about the 2000s.
Too bad. Writer number 1, Neil Gaiman.
Okay, that doesn't surprise me.
Neil Gaiman, who also did the English adaptation of Princess Mononoke, and also produced the previous episode of the pod, Stardust.
He also did his own translation and retelling of Norse mythology, so not a surprise.
Not at all. Other screenwriter was Roger Avery. He did the story of Pulp Fiction and the film adaptation of Silent Hill. If you want to know where his quality is, those were the two I recognized.
Oh boy.
Gaiman and Avery actually started work on this in 1997.
Always a good sign.
They were working on, production hell being a thing when you got directors changing and writers changing and then you end up with like 800 hands in the pot, right? Same two guys wrote the screenplay from start to finish, right? Mm-hmm. They were originally working on an adaptation that didn't get made of The Sandman.
Okay.
And I believe when that got turned down or canceled, they locked themselves in a hotel room until something came out. What came out was Beowulf. Avery was originally going to direct it, and then Robert Zemeckis, fresh off his attempt with Polar Express, thought this is a perfect screenplay to do in this new mocap animation style. Ugh. Which, if you aren't familiar at home, you haven't seen the movie, all of the actors were, put in a blank stage with the ping pong balls on them in the skin-tight suits. Ugh. And were told to do the performances that way, and they had something like 300 cameras in there capturing their performances from every angle possible. And then in post, they are digitized, put in digital sets, and then digital cinematography with cameras sweeping around fake worlds. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Just a quick aside. How soon after doing this did Robin Wright do that movie about how that was going to destroy animation and the art of being alive?
Oh, what's that called? The Agency? No.
Singular?
No, it's like it's a name for like a group of people.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's The Agency.
Brood? No,
that's a different movie.
Because I think she was still Robin Wright Penn in that one as well.
I don't think so. Oh, The Congress.
The Congress.
She was not Robin Wright Penn. She dropped that in 2009.
Okay.
So yeah, that was 6 years after.
Okay. So not immediately.
But anyway, so what was originally planned to be like a low to mid budget, just gritty action movie, Zemeckis took over and was like, hey, you don't have to worry about anything you write costing me $1 million per page. Go nuts. So the dragon fight went from a conversation to him hanging from the dragon with a chain, dodging trees through the forest, and then bridges are burning and arrows are flying and all kinds of bullshit.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, I think Zemeckis was the problem with this movie. What wasn't the problem? Well, not entirely. The cast. Beowulf himself was played by Ray Winstone, who you may remember from previous episode Chronicles of Narnia. He played Mr. Beaver.
Oh, okay.
He was also in The Departed. Grendel was played by Crispin Glover.
Oh my god, okay.
They actually gave him dialogue. I don't believe he had any in the poem.
No.
Everything he says is in Old English.
Which is a weird choice.
It's a very strange choice. Because none of it is subtitled, like, in the film, or if you turn on closed captioning. And I watched two different versions. I watched a DVD and I watched a digital stream. And I know, I watched this movie fucking twice for you people. And it doesn't translate anything.
But that also makes even less sense if He's the son of
He's
Hrothgar.
Norse.
Why would
He's Norse. How does he speak Old English? And everyone else speaks normal English. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's just, it's confusing. Because you can still pick up some words he's saying.
Yeah.
It's odd. Grendel's mother is played by Angelina Jolie. You know her from Tomb Raider, Wanted. Yep, those are the two I picked. She was actually 3 months pregnant when she shot this movie.
Oh, so that's why they didn't use her.
So it's not even her body. Hrothgar was played by Anthony Hopkins. We talked about him previously with Silence of the Lambs. He's also in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Unferth was played by John Malkovich. We talked about him a few times. Adaptation, Aragon, Warm Bodies. Yeah, he's a friend of the pod at this point. He's in fucking Aragon. I forgot about Aragon.
Yeah.
Wiglaf was played by my new friend, Brendan Gleeson.
How many fucking movies have we seen with him in the last, 4 days?
I watched, I watched Lake Placid the other day, and Beowulf. He's also in Bruges, which I've seen recently. Banshees of Inisherin. He's a brilliant character actor that I need to watch more of his shit, because I love him. And Queen Wealtho was played by Robin Wright, as we discussed from our first episode, The Princess Bride. She's also in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Also, check out The Congress. That's a really interesting movie. And Ray Winstone was not the only actor to portray Beowulf in this.
Okay.
His body was friend of the pod in a weird way, Alan Ritchson.
What?
Who I believe we just cast as Hercules in our adaptation of Hercules on The Treatment.
Why? What?
Because Ray Winstone was 50 years old, and Alan Ritchson was young and ripped. So body double him, why not?
Sure.
See, that's the magic of using computer generation, is you can just do whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't even have to be good.
Clearly.
So why use motion capture? Zemeckis' idea was that it would allow the performers to concentrate on the performance. Because if you're just in a big black space, all you have is your dialogue, you can just focus on that. And in fact, some of the actors, Malkovich and Hopkins, actually really enjoyed the experience. Because you're still in the room with somebody else doing your performance. They likened it to doing Bertolt Brecht, Black Box Theater.
I was going to say, yeah, it feels very theater.
It's very Brechtian. And you don't have to worry about hitting your spot. You don't have to worry about waiting for cameras and lights to get set up. Everything's already preset when you get to the studio and you just knock out your scenes. That's why it only took Jolie 2 days to film her role. And she was in a third of the movie. Some of the downsides of doing this way.
It looks awful.
I'm not even to how bad it looks. They needed to basically reinvent their software to handle the amount of data they were working with. It was taking them so long to save and load as they were working that they spent 5 months optimizing that process in their software.
Good lord.
Just the save and load buttons. They needed to build more data centers in Culver City to help with the fucking CG animation on this.
Jesus Christ.
And they also borrowed some CG technology that was invented for films they used the dust technology from Spider-Man 3, and the water technology from Surf's Up, and the fire technology from Ghost Rider. You may recognize these as not being good movies.
Is this movie part of why we got Avatar?
No, because Cameron was working on Avatar since the mid to late 90s as well. And he was waiting for technology to get to a point where he felt comfortable doing it, which happened to be a few years after this and not the same technology. Because it's a lot easier to animate scenery, animals, especially scaly animals, than it is to make a human's eyes look like they have life in them.
Yeah.
And that's what's completely lost in this movie, is however hard they try to make camera shots look good and do things that you couldn't do without this technology, I still know watching it that it's just a fucking cartoon. And what's impressive about big sweeping shots in, say, early episodes of The Simpsons is that so much of that was hand-drawn and hand-animated. Doing it in this style, it's okay, I think fucking... What's that? Source Filmmaker? Is that the thing? It's Valve. I think it's Valve, the video game developer. And it's the people that make music videos using assets from Team Fortress 2.
Oh, probably.
Source Filmmaker, I think is what it's called. I think that existed. Like, the Orange Box, TF2, came out in 2007. People were doing the exact same shit on their computers at home. And this is a multi-million-dollar Hollywood production. And it still doesn't look that good.
No, it looks awful.
Like, so much of the movement, like, either looked clunky or stiff when actors in scare quotes would interact with elements of the scenery. Like, there's a shot towards the end where Wiglaf is riding a horse across a bridge that is on fire. And he approaches the bridge, he sees it's on fire, and one end of it, like the end towards him, like starts to snap and it starts to crumble away. And as he's riding his horse, you know, a 1-ton animal, across this burning bridge, the individual planks of wood don't move when the weight touches them. And then once the weight goes off, the planks stiffly fall off the side of the bridge. It's so shit looking.
It makes me think of animations in the original Sims when they're, like, interacting with objects that they're not supposed to touch yet. Or, like, it can't quite get around the edge of their hands.
Yeah. 5 years before this movie came out, I bought a video game called Warcraft 3. And I got the special edition of it that had a fucking DVD of all the cutscenes. And I would watch the cutscenes. Because they were fucking cool. And this movie looked just like those cutscenes. Except after 5 minutes, I got to play a video game with Warcraft 3. How did I word it to Mark last night? This animation has aged like a Gatorade bottle filled with piss left in a mall parking lot on a hot summer's day. I watched it on DVD last night, so 480p, and there were textures on brick in the castle that looked low res on DVD. Baffling decision.
Why would he, after the reaction to Polar Express, why would Zemeckis be like, no, let's double down?
I think he wanted to prove that it could work. And
if your audience generally, like, Polar Express was known as being terrifying. Especially if you can make Tom Hanks terrifying, it really does feel like, no, the audience is wrong.
Yeah, it's such a... I think he might have owned the animation studio, come to think of it.
Yeah, that
would not surprise me. Because they did 3 pictures, maybe 4, and then got bought and canned.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, because it doesn't work. Like, the audience doesn't want to see that. And when I'm doing my research, and I'm reading that this screenplay, which I actually like the screenplay, with the exception of the killing of the dragon bit that I've already ranted about, I love how they played with the original myth.
It's like we said about Gowan, it seems like it's people who deeply understood the source material and they were playing with it in a way that, yeah, it's not 100% textually accurate, but it keeps the spirit of it by bending the text a little bit.
Yeah, like part of what makes the screenplay so intriguing is we mentioned that the original was written by like monks, you know, telling an old tale. He makes Unferth a Christian by the end of the story. And it's implied that the story that we read in high school was edited because of this dude's Christian sensibilities. Like, they adapt that into the story itself in a way that's really clever. And fleshing out Grendel's mother. And...
literally.
Fleshing out Grendel's mother, connecting Grendel and his mother to the dragon, and giving that subplot of it's their sons, and that's why they don't have heirs, and all of these little things. I would have loved to see this come out in like 1999 with what was that? Was it the 13th Warrior that's like loosely based off Beowulf, or is that based off something else?
I have no idea. I'm confusing. I think I'm confusing it with Last Samurai.
No, the 13th Warrior is a 1999 film by John McTiernan that's loosely based off Beowulf.
Okay.
Similar idea of villages under siege, mercenaries come in and help out. It's a very, very loose adaptation, starring Antonio Banderas as like an Arab guy who's the outsider and the audience insert.
Yeah.
And it has one of the best scenes about language in film, where he doesn't understand what they're saying until all of a sudden they're speaking English because he suddenly understands their language.
Yeah.
Like he's learned it. But like, that level of budget and care on this screenplay, we'd still be talking about that movie. But Zemeckis had to uggo it. Like, no one talks about this movie because it's that weird cartoon Beowulf with naked Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
And it could have been so much more, and that pisses me off.
Yeah, like it was a big swing, and sometimes big swings are going to fail. And the thing is, I think you already had your strikes with Polar Express with this. Like, you knew how audiences were going to react.
Yeah. I guess the only thing I can think of is he thought, oh, kids were scared of Polar Express. This movie's going to be more adult. It was PG-13 on theatrical, which is the version that's available on, like, Pluto TV and stuff right now. I borrowed the director's cut DVD, which would basically just be an R. It's more violent. There's more blood. I found a website. It's like movie-censorship.com. And they do, like, it seems like a very fan-run, old internet kind of page. Like, I kind of love it. But they'll do, like, a frame-by-frame breakdown of the differences between different versions of movies.
Okay.
And the only, like, sexual... Well, there are a couple sexual ones on there, like some innuendo and, like, a scene where, like, dude is absolutely eating a lady out behind a table. Like, that was cut for the theatrical. But it was so funny because, like, besides, like, that, the only thing with Angelina Jolie was, like, her crotch is brighter in this shot in the director's cut. Like, Zemeckis wanted to make a movie for adults. But also, like, so odd because that's... What adult cares about fucking Beowulf?
Yeah, like, the adults that care about Beowulf are going to be teachers.
Teachers or, like, weird medieval history nuts. Not that that's weird or bad. I don't want to make a judgment call on people who are into that. Fucking cool. If you found us from that, awesome. Check out our Green Knight episode, too. It was never my cup of tea. But, like, even when it came out, I was like, weird. That thing that I just read in high school?
Yeah, like, you have to... It's not like adapting Shakespeare.
No. Where there's, like, ways to do it and...
And it's also, like, Beowulf kind of suffers from being the prototype in that, like, it's so suffused into pop culture that no one recognizes what is or isn't from it, as opposed to, like, Shakespeare, where you can identify certain elements of Shakespeare as being from Shakespeare. Beowulf is straight up just, like, the hero's tale story. And having never read it before, I knew about Grendel. And the only reason I knew about that is because I would walk into my fucking AP English class every day, and there would be different things written on the board from the British literature class, and Grendel would be one of the names written there. So it's like, I know it through, like, weird cultural osmosis, but I feel like most people are just like, what?
That thing I read in high school, or that thing the smart kids read in high school?
Or, like, kids are going to watch it because they're like, oh, I'll watch it instead of reading it, and then they write, their papers or whatever.
They write their papers on... And they reference things that were made up for the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's odd. Like, Avery especially, I actually found a quote from him. He took so much care in this, and I really would love to see the original idea for it. But yeah, he asks, there's a lot of questions from the story, like, Grendel's described as half man, half demon. The mother's described as a water demon. Who's the father? He's always dragging men off alive to the cave. Why? Why is he not attacking Hrothgar? And if Hrothgar is Grendel's father, what happens to Beowulf when he goes in the cave? Does he kill the monster? Do he kill Grendel's mother? Did he make a pact with the demon? It's those kinds of questions that allowed us to explore deeper into the myth, and in a way I don't think bastardizes the original myth. I think it's actually a deeper examination of it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I respect the hell out of that. I know I joked earlier about he doesn't have a great track record of movies. Cough, cough, Silent Hill. But... he understood what he was doing, and it seems like he took great care with the original text and adapting it. And then Zemeckis comes in with this technology and goes, shit on it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, because the technology is what involves the actors, everyone's gonna... That's the visual that sticks in your head.
Like, I should have watched, because I know it exists. There's I think the Blu-ray of the film has a picture-in-picture mode where you get the actual actors' performances in the corner. I would love to see that, and I should look that up, just to, like, what was Crispin Glover doing on that set? That's gotta be fun to watch, right? Like, that dude is a fucking... He might hear this. That dude is very eccentric. And I don't want him to hurt me. And he might. But he and Zemeckis actually, like, ended a beef from Back to the Future 2 for him to do this movie.
Yeah.
But, like,
I feel like this is also, like, one of the last things he did in Hollywood.
Yeah, he really stopped working after a while. I don't know if his reputation preceded him or what, but it's a shame, because he's done some great performances in his career. But yeah, like it's a shame that there's so much going into this production that could have worked, and I really liked how they adapted it. Except I have to watch it. And I don't want to look at it.
You want an audiobook.
I would watch this cast do this on a stage in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I don't want to watch the movie again.
You don't want to go for third time's the charm?
No.
Maybe you'll trauma bond with it.
No, I'll trauma bond with breaking my screen. I do have one last thing that I want to bring up.
Yes.
Are you familiar with Neil Gaiman's 1998 collection, Smoke and Mirrors? It's a collection of short stories he wrote.
Vaguely. I've never read it, but I am familiar with it.
So, one of them is a poem called Beowulf. 2 words.
Of course.
Baywolf. And it's a modern-day retelling of Beowulf. And the reason he wrote it was after he got out of that mythical hotel room in 1997, someone asked what he working on. He said Beowulf. And they heard Beowulf and thought, you're doing something with Baywatch and werewolves?
Wait, though. That sounds incredible.
Now I want to read Beowulf. Because it sounds like it's probably got something to do with Baywatch and werewolves.
Although, we do have to put the Me Too warning for Neil Gaiman.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. Yeah. Shit. I didn't research him enough.
You were already traumatized by watching the movie. You don't need to be traumatized by the list of his crimes.
Weird. That dude wrote a movie. The Me Too guy wrote a movie in which all these women are tortured and cursed by... Or all these men are tortured and cursed by a woman.
Huh. Interesting.
Who has, her own sexual desires and dreams and aspirations.
What? Crazy.
Heaven forbid a man get used by a woman. At least there's women in this.
Hey, there was women in Gowan.
No, in the movie, not. Compared to the...
Yes.
He wrote women. He fleshed out female characters to hate on them more.
Oh, you're probably right, though.
I know. Fuck. I still want to know what Beowulf was about. So do you recommend this poem?
I mean, sure. It's a classic. If you want to read it, it's not that long. The version that I have is, they call it the bilingual edition. So on the left side of each page is the Old English, and on the right side of each page is the
Spanish.
Modern English.
Oh.
And the translation I read was by Seamus Haney, and he said he was specifically trying to recall the dialect of the Scullions, which are a very specific subgroup in Ireland.
But it's about Geats.
But he said that the way that he read it was like an old person spinning a yarn, telling a tale, and he heard it in that kind of dialect and voice. Mm-hmm. So that part of it was interesting. His introduction took me almost longer to get through than the play, because his introduction is so fucking self-important. But, that said, it's fine. Epic poems aren't really my thing, which is funny, because we just did 2 of them back-to-back, and I fucking love Shakespeare. But, it's fine. It would be I feel like I would have enjoyed it more having read it in high school and being in a situation where I could, discuss it with other people.
Well, that's why we do the podcast.
Yeah.
So I can sit across the room from my best friend, and we can talk about shit.
Yeah. Speaking of things, do you recommend the movie? I don't know, my love.
I pre-wrote my rant, but I already hit most of the beats. The screenplay and additional story elements are intriguing, and I wish this was produced as a mid-budget live-action fantasy epic. While I understand the pros of motion capture technology in regards to performance, the top-of-the-line technology in 2007 doesn't hold up to modern eyes, which negatively affects the intent of the screenplay. The movement is clunky and inhuman, textures appear low-res even on DVD, and the characters' eyes often appear as lifeless as the corpses they produce throughout. I would have loved to see the screenplay produced in the late 90s with actual actors, but I just can't disconnect it enough from the visual slop to enjoy the movie as is.
Okay.
2 out of 5.
What if, though? Because there was another series of epic fantasy coming out around this time. Can you imagine if this was given the Lord of the Rings treatment? Weta gets to do a fucking dragon with that screenplay?
Straight up just give it to Peter Jackson and Weta? Mm-hmm. The thing is, what made the Lord of the Rings trilogy so fucking good is that you can tell everyone absolutely loved the Lord of the Rings that was making it. I don't think you'd get that same amount of love for Beowulf. So some of the care, some of the effort would have been not like you and I work normal, quote, normal jobs. And you and I both have that thing where, like, oh, this element of my job, I'm intrigued by this thing that I'm doing. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to take more detail. Same thing in creative fields. You can tell sometimes when people are phoning it in, and I feel like that team would have phoned some of this in. That said, still would have probably fucking ripped.
I just want to see the Weta Dragon.
I want to see the set. Like, what random cliffside in Denmark would Jackson have found? I know we still would have done this in New Zealand. Like, what cliffside in New Zealand would he have built an actual village and mead hall on? Like, with, like, a perfect miniature that, like, destroys for Grendel, and he does it all with the fucking, aspect ratio. What's the thing? The force perspective.
Yep.
Like, for Grendel, making Grendel look bigger. He would have had a blast with it, actually.
Yeah.
You're right. That's the team. Damn. What could have been, and yet wasn't. Because Zemeckis had to Zemeck it all over it. And I hate that we're going to have to talk about those other movies he did eventually.
Yeah.
Not this Christmas. I have other plans for Christmas this year.
We should do a Christmas Carol, but not that one.
No, not that one. We should do a Christmas Carol. That sounds like a good idea. You know what we really need to decide?
What we're doing next.
Now, I had presented you with a few options today, because we are flying by the seat of our pants right now.
We sure are.
What's funny is we have the rest of the year figured out. Just not next week.
Yep.
So we can follow Zemeckis and like half of the cast to Forrest Gump. We can follow our lead, Ray Winstone, and also Brendan Gleeson to Cold Mountain. Or we can follow John Malkovich over to Of Mice and Men.
I know we had a lot of fun with our last Steinbeck, but I am too sad to do Steinbeck.
So no Of Mice and Men yet.
I don't want to make.
I want to have Jeff on when we do Steinbeck anyway. He loves Steinbeck. I might save up and pay him to come on here. Anyway.
I know nothing about Cold Mountain. I read a brief synopsis, and I'm interested. It is the longest of the options, but I'm interested in that one. I think I'm gonna call for Cold Mountain.
Then next time out, we're doing 2003's Cold Mountain, which is based off a, I believe, 1997 novel.
I looked it up.
If I'm not mistaken.
I looked it up, and I do not remember.
1997 novel by Charles Fraser, adapted to film in 2003 by Anthony Minghella.
All right.
So that's next time. But until next time, you can check out our link tree in the description to this podcast. There you will find our social media handles, our email address to send in suggestions for future episodes. We have our high school mixtape from when we did Perks of Being a Wallflower. We have our Ko-Fi account there. If you want to throw a couple bucks to help us pay for podcasting hosting fees, we would really appreciate it. You can also find our other podcast, The Treatment, a podcast about stories, which we do with my dearest friend, Mark Lucas. And in that one, we spend this podcast critiquing adaptations of film. In that one, we try to do it ourselves, for better or worse.
I think we've done some pretty solid ones.
I think we have as well. Our most recent one, when you're hearing this, I believe is Jack and Jill, which we turned into a space exploration epic / thriller.
Yeah.
That came out really interesting. Like, I was like really satisfied with what we came up with in that one. So you can check that out on its own podcast feed or on our YouTube channel. But yeah, until next time, I have been Billy Beck.
I'm Codie Beck.
And I'm getting real close to actually ending this well, and I cannot let that happen. I can't finish a podcast good. That's Mark's job. No, it just needs to, like, the music needs to fade in, and then I say something ridiculous, and then it cuts off, and we go home, and we're already home. I eat something. I eat something is what happens, right?
Sure. We can finish the tofu.